Hello, my name's Alistair Stewart. I'm the principal of St Joseph's Primary School in Weewa, and I hope you're having a good day at your Armidale Catholic Schools board meeting. Recently, I had the opportunity to present at the Association of Catholic School Principals conference for New South Wales, and we were down in Wollongong for that. It was my first time presenting at a conference and first time really speaking in front of my peers like this. So any feedback that you have for me, I'd love to hear it. Hope you enjoy it.
That hope is most appreciated in the more difficult times. Joan Chittister says that hope is a green shoot in the midst of struggle. So there's another metaphor for us. It's at this stage now that I'm going to welcome one of our colleagues to the stage, one of the brave few who's put his hand up to make a presentation to us today in what we're calling Ed Talks, loosely modelled on TED Talks, but not copyrighted. Alistair we will forgive him for this part, a native New Zealander who immigrated to Australia, so he showed some good sense there. He's an executive member of ACSP. He's worked in various places around the country. He's currently in Weewa, which has been an interesting place in recent times. Where are you, Alistair? Come on down. Come on, we haven't got all day. Shift it. Alistair's going to, his presentation's entitled Wandering About the Plains. Life is a journey towards new hope and new growth is its destination. Come on up, Alistair, and ladies and gentlemen, be kind. Okay. Andy, where's the clicker?
Definitely a bit nervous here.
Beautiful, thank you. Okay, thank you everybody. Nervous I am, yes.
You guys can follow Andy, pretty good, eh?
At least you're not all going for morning tea straight away, that's all right. So, ko Alistair Tokawingwa, no kaiapai ho. Ko Faustin Manga, ko Waimakarere Te Awa. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. But you're all wondering why this New Zealand born and bred bloke is standing in front of you today. Well, I am too. When Mick Bazzina emailed me and said that I'd have a good story to tell, I didn't believe him, but well, here goes. My name is Alistair Stewart, and I'm an alcoholic. No, I'm not an alcoholic. Wrong speech. My name is Alistair Stewart and I'm the principal of a lovely school within the Diocese of Armidale. Give us a shout, Diocese of Armidale. St Joseph's Primary School is located in the bustling heart of Weewa. Well, bustling might be overstating it. Weewa is located in the northwest of New South Wales, out on the fertile plains alongside the Namoi River. Weewa's population fluctuates at around about 2,000 people, of which 120 of its youngest students call St Joey's their educational home. I'm here today to share my reflections, insights and yarns about the conference theme of New Hope, New Growth, a celebration of Catholic educational leadership. It's amazing how the Holy Spirit works. When we look back on our life's decisions, it is truly amazing to see how divine power can be integral in our decision making. You might just not realise it at the time. If I rewind back to August of 2018, sitting at my previous home of Bendigo, I was scrolling through principals' positions on Teachers on Net and looking at the positions in Victoria. We'd been there in Victoria since the beginning of 2008, when we immigrated over here. But relocating back to Melbourne, it was as appealing as eating mouldy bread. If you're desperate, you'd eat it, you'd go. But if you could avoid it, you would. Melbourne will always be a special place for me, filled with lifelong friends and colleagues, but it was time to do something different and find somewhere better for my family and I. Cue the Holy Spirit and the impromptu phone call from Linda, my mother-in-law in New Zealand. She knew we were at a crossroads too and wanted us to be happy. So she suggested that I look into state. And I said, albeit a bit lightheartedly, yeah, I'll do that. But she insisted and told me to call her later on when I did. Well, I found out the real reason why she wanted me to look into state. And after visiting Victoria numerous occasions, she wanted a new holiday destination. So like a dutiful son-in-law, I called her back with Teachers on Net open on my computer to look for my new holiday, her new holiday destination. Or more importantly, a new professional journey in place for our family to build new memories. Well, opening up Teachers on Net, I was amazed by the range of opportunities. With positions available nationwide. But being a bigger bloke with an inbuilt central heating system on board, I decided that Queensland, was out. Northern Territory, out, too hot. And Western Australia was out too far. I did have South Australia was too South Australian, but my PA at school said I shouldn't do that. It was then that I saw a position listed for the Diocese of Armidale, and it came up just that day. Holy Spirit, working well. After a quick Google of Armidale, I discovered that the city is located at the highest elevation of any city in Australia. It has temperate summers and cold winters. Now, for a Kiwi like me, I thought perfect. But you might all see the flaw in my logic. As soon as I realised that Wee-Waa is the exact opposite. It's 4 hours away from Armidale, seriously hot, seriously dry, seriously flat, and seriously foreign to anywhere that I've previously lived. But I was intrigued, and upon seeing that flat, dry expanse, seeing the horizon in all directions, I decided that this could be fun. My next step was to convince my wife. I love my wife, I do, you'll see. Fast forward a few months, and reality is hitting us. We packed up our house and saw the moving truck off. We piled into the old trusty Holden Commodore. 2 adults, 3 kids, 2 dogs, and a whole carload of insecurities, uncertainties, as well as new hopes and dreams. But my gosh, we had never experienced heat like it. Travelling to a remote town in the middle of nowhere, with heavy breathing, barking, squirming things in the car, and that was just my wife. It was 45 degrees outside as we headed to a town that had been in drought for the better part of 10 years. 1,066 kilometres later, we are home, in a place that seems so different but intriguing, a place for new hope and new growth. Then, though, I had my first encounter with the local wildlife. I'd been warned about the possibility of encountering reptiles, arachnids, and a plethora of other animals that want to jump out in front of your car at any point during the night. But no one warned me about this wildlife. We'd only been inside the house for 30 minutes before it struck. Not a snake, not a spider, but a more dangerous creature. It was a loud, shirtless, tattooed Bulldog supporter. We've all heard the stories, the rumours, but I thought they were all contained within the Canterbury-Bankstown region. But this one was free. He was wild and is called Chris. Now, Chris is our new next-door neighbour. Still to this day, much to the horror of my wife and the delight of my kids, Chris, at any hour of the day and wearing little to no clothing, will just walk in and just have a chat. This first day, though, he plonked a box of Great Northerns on the bench, cracked open 2 cans, and welcomed us to Wee-Waa. Human connection, people going out of their way for others, is not a given when you're living in a city. So I was overjoyed. So on that hot Wee-Waa day, we chatted and shared some amber ales. Chris told me about the town, where to go for this and that, and what I needed to do to last in this town. He opened my eyes to what it is like to live in a place where helping others is truly a way of life. Now, I've met so many characters in my time at WeWar. They'll do anything to help you, your family, or the school. I found out that by talking and asking others, you'll find a solution to any problem. Whether that is a leaky pipe at school or if you're broken down on the side of the road miles from anywhere. These people like Chris, who's now our groundsman, Big George with his bobcat digger and trucks, Greg Avery, the only local plumber, or other great people like Anna Baird, Cowboy or Homer, all great people who would go out of their way to help others. These people show discipleship every day without even knowing it. So entering St. Joseph's Primary School for the first time as a principal, I was nervous, but I was excited. St. Joseph's is one of 3 primary schools in WeWar. So 2,000 people, 3 primary schools. We have a local public school, a Christian school, and as the older locals describe our school, the convent school. We're all part of the fabric of WeWar, and we all coexist together. Our staff all share similar experiences, and we all get along. St. Joseph's is now the largest primary school in WeWar, not that it is a competition. However, at that time, as a school, we were in some dire straits. As a new principal, I needed to get up to speed quickly, as I learnt how volatile life on the land can really be. As I said, this drought had been running for the better part of 10 years. I was meeting with parents who would describe themselves as asset-rich but cash-poor. These people had land, farm equipment and crippling debt. But due to the drought, they struggled to feed their stock or put a crop in the hard, dry ground. The town was dying, the region was dying, and people who could move out were moving. Families were desperate. Some parents were worried about where their next meal was coming from, as they had maxed out their credit with the bank. To give you context, 2019, most of our school population took the bus to school. That was from farms, properties and settlements that were outside of the WeWar area, with some students travelling upwards of 70 kilometres each way to get to school. I sat and talked with students who were anxious, stressed and worried about their parents, worried about their families' livelihoods and even their lives, as the rates of suicide are significantly raised during a drought. To sit and help these students is a daunting prospect. However, as a school founded by the Josephites, we live St. Mary MacKillop's motto of never seeing a need without doing something about it. Our school staff, mostly made up of early career teachers, leapt into action to help our families in any way possible. We created a community freezer where families needing meals could just take them. Our local Josephite, Sister Geraldine, teamed up with the parishioners and she organised countless ham and cheese sandwiches to be made up and frozen down so that any child could have a toasted sandwich at lunchtime. And we also had a school fruit bowl that was filled with fresh fruit every day. Now, even to this day, that's widely used. Couple these strategies with our oasis garden where we grow vegetables and fruit for anyone in the community. This notion of service, support and giving meant that people were more open to expressing their emotions, reaching out and discussing what they were going through. One of my proudest moments of 2019 was our family fundraiser. Instead of having a fete where our aim is to raise as much cash as possible for our P&F, we changed it up. We made the whole event free. We provided steak sandwiches from the barbecue, cold drinks and bottomless ice cream for the kids. Of course, anyone who wanted to donate, they put the money into a bucket. But that wasn't the point. It was to engage the community and have a memorable night where all families could relax and have fun. We even had a staff first students water fight. And as a staff, it was empowering and such a fun evening. But what I learned is to trust in God, then everything will be okay. Because as a community that has been through such a long drought, the rains finally came, the grouse grew, and the harvest became abundant. During the first few years of the pandemic, you would not have known COVID within our small town. Yes, there were restrictions. Yes, people complied. They spent time in isolation. Students zoomed into school. But town life was changing. The energy amongst the community was increasing as the fertile soil gave back to those who toiled it. Now, as a principal, it's not uncommon to hear from families that their son or daughter would be away for some time, as they were needed on the farm to drive a header, to share sheep, or to follow their parents around with the chaser bin. My 10-year-old son wants me to teach him to drive, as his classmates are trusted to drive machinery worth well over $500,000. So you can understand his frustrations when I say nobody. He then complains, but little Johnny gets to do it. But like everywhere, staff shortages post-pandemic are hitting everyone hard. So everyone in these farming families does their bit. However, I have learnt that you can't have too much of a good thing. If we have soaking rains, wonderful sunshine, and excellent grain harvests, things don't stay great for long. 2021 was the year of the ox. However, it should have been called the year of the furry, scuttling, four-legged, hungry, smelly, annoying year of the mouse. Just imagine mice as far as you can see. When you saw one in your house, I could bet you your last dollar there'd be 20 more. I thought the drought or the pandemic was tough, but living through a mouse plague was worse. The worst one that we had at home met its untimely death in our kitchen extractor fan. Every time we used the stovetop to cook, you would turn it on and you would smell mouse. Bon appetit. Schools in our diocese, they all had horror stories. For us, like losing uniforms from our storage sheds, ransacked canteens, and even computer and data cables chewed beyond recognition. The whole town stunk. The mice did not discriminate. Bakeries, supermarkets, and the local pub, they were all fair game. However, there was a solution. Locals talked about it, and supposedly the only way to stop the breeding cycle was to have a small flood. Cue now, praying for a small flood. God must have a sense of humour. So you could see us praying to fix this coexistence with mice, and he granted our prayers. We had a flood, but he forgot to turn off the tap. Now, Weewa is located beside the Namoi River, and this is fed from the mountain ranges near Tamworth. Unfortunately, the river system fills whenever it rained up in the hills, and the water flows downstream, bottlenecking around towns along the way. They say farmers are never happy. Well, Catholic school principals are never happy too. I would forever be asking farmers and townspeople their predictions of rain, as after it falls upstream, it takes 4 to 5 days, and then that water would encircle around Weewa. No one could predict it perfectly. However, with the over half of our school population living outside the levee bank, and most of our staff located in Narrabri or on their own properties, we had to constantly move out or in and out of minimal supervision. Living in a flood is not all that bad. It can be pretty surreal. You can't go anywhere. If you need to go to Woolies, nah, it's not going to happen. You need to go to the vet, unfortunately, no. If you have a craving for KFC, well, you know the answer. On a side note, after being isolated for 12 days in my first major flood, I decided to brave the floodwaters as soon as the lagoon was low enough to drive through. I was planning to get the family KFC. It's in Narrabri, 50 k's from where we are. So 2 kilometres after passing the floodwaters, 7 o'clock at night, and me blissfully driving away, unaware of anything, I hit the biggest roo I had ever seen. So in the end, there was no KFC for anyone, and I needed a diet anyway. When you're isolated together, life slows down. We walked more, barbecued more, and enjoyed life on Weewa Island. Our school is located next to the levee bank, so while at school we could watch the water flow by. During 2022, we had 9 flood peaks that cut off Weewa. The periods of isolation for each flood ranged between 1 to 14 days. But you get used to finding new ways to bring staff and students to school. Since we have a young staff who like to try their luck, they requested to be choppered into school. At $300 per person for a return trip from Narrabri, this was not happening. But we did get used to utilising the SES's boats and their Unimog to get staff and students in and out of the school and in and out of the floodwaters. Google Classroom and Zoom were fully operational, and students isolated on properties did not miss out. What you don't get used to is that everything, both human and reptile, goes to higher ground during a flood. And it became commonplace to have a brown snake slither around the school and even the eating area while all the students are sitting down eating their lunch. Our record was 4 brown snakes in one afternoon. Now, having to relocate snakes was not in the job description when I signed my contract. I am a Kiwi, no snakes in New Zealand. As a school community, you work together to overcome any obstacle. Now, I'm blessed to work in a school with great students, families, and a wonderful staff. However, what truly makes it even better is working as part of a wonderful diocese. I've taught and led in New Zealand, the Archdiocese of Melbourne, the Diocese of Sandhurst, and now the Diocese of Armidale. And hand on heart say that this is the best diocese that I've ever worked in. Now, a colleague and I who shares the same warped sense of humour as I do, we're sitting in a pub at the ACSP Conference last year, and we see a whole lot of tattooed blokes walk in. So since then, we've been always talking about getting a throat tattoo, Armidale for life. All joking aside, working within part of an authentic Catholic community, professional learning community, as we have within the Diocese of Armidale, is very affirming. We're a system of 24 schools where we have built the collective efficacy of not just the leaders of the schools, but aligning teachers and support staff to work together and therefore bringing true and purposeful systemness to our school communities. Since 2017, our system is focused on improving its performance within literacy and numeracy. Leaders have come together to establish a set of non-negotiables for learning within all schools and evidence-based instruction models within all classrooms. Now that has then led to an increase in our diocese Year 3 NAPLAN reading score in a year-on-year fashion. Furthermore, establishing our Living Well, Learning Well framework has enhanced student voice within our schools. This framework outlines and ensures that we have paid, helpful adults working with our students. And we reiterate this to our staff, that every staff member must have a positive high regard for every student. This does not sound hard, but it can be confronting for some staff who might not want to change their practices. Now, with this in place, these approaches have seen the enrolments within our diocese increase to pre-drought levels. As a diocese that draws students from major centres like Armidale and Tamworth and other remote areas like Wee Waa, Walgett and Mungandai, the last drought led to many families moving away from the land to big cities. Now, the increase now is wonderful as it stems from the great work and passion within our school communities. And I must thank Chris Smythe, the Catholic Schools Office Armidale Director, for his leadership. The way he's empowered our school principal and middle leaders to work together to establish this collective efficacy has been amazing. I have learnt and experienced so much as a principal of a small Catholic school. I know what it is like to help families through adversity, to challenge students to learn, and to empower teachers to build their capacity. But doing this within a community such as Wee Waa is my greatest accomplishment. The Holy Spirit has guided me to a challenging, rewarding career that is full of hope. So to conclude, I want to leave you with a couple of takeaways. Firstly, if you're ever given an opportunity to try something different, like leading in a regional or remote setting, give it a go. Your family and the families within the community will thank you. Secondly, remember, new hope and new growth can only be a change of weather away. God provides for us all, so trust in God and recognise how His guidance can help each and every one of us. Now, my final point. I started my speech today outlining my mihi, my introduction of me as a New Zealander. Recently, it was announced that Kiwis like me, who have lived and contributed wholeheartedly to Australia for a long time, will now have the opportunity to apply for citizenship. So not only will I have the love of where I am from, but I'll genuinely be able to say that I'm one of you, an Australian. As giving to this country, particularly by being a part of a small community in Wee Waa, I now understand and appreciate and love this land. Now, my love of this land and its people is best summed up by Dorothea McKellar's second stanza of her famous poem, My Country. I love a sunburnt country, a land of sweeping plains, of rugged mountain ranges, of drought and flooding rains. I love her far horizons. I love her jewel sea, her beauty and her terror, the wide brown land for me. Thank you.
Well done. Congratulations. Alistair. I tried to hold on to it.
Not an alcoholic.
Alistair, that short address really captured the reasons we've been looking at these ed talks. That's an insight into the principalship that all the experts, inverted commas, in the room couldn't provide. And I think what was terrific about it is it's a presentation of the other for many people, that it's a small school, it's a remote school, the climatic conditions, the town. And in the midst of it all, the image that Joan Chittister gave us, the green shoot, lasted for a little while. She didn't go on to talk about the mice that came afterwards. A couple of announcements.
So thank you everybody for listening to that presentation. I hope you have a really good meeting. And again, if you've got any feedback, I'd love to hear it. Have a wonderful meeting. See you later.